very different kind of video for me here today. Actually a different game than Age of Empires, but I think a lot of you who like Age of Empires will also like Manor. It's much more SimCity-esque in its building of your township and less focused on combat. It's more eco/supply line management, but don't let its lovely aesthetics fool you. This game is brutal. I have died at least 3 times already. That being said, I'm sure that you can master Manor if you so please with these key tips. First tip is kind of a 2-for-1 as it involves some cheese. The first thing you want to do is construct a base close to your starting position, but you want to make sure that you have food and food nearby you. Yes, that's right, there's 2 kinds of food in this game. You have burritos, but you also have huntitos. You can manipulate where the hunt is by means of placing a hunter camp within the circle and then deleting that, thus moving it to where you want it to be. So we're simply just pushing it over. Where did it go? Okay, it went over here. You can see we can do this over and over again to then get a more favorable spawn near our burritos, or wherever we would like that hunt to be in general. Maybe we want it to be over there. Probably not, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Just, yeah. Manipulation. I know that may not seem very sportsmanlike to move your hunt in that way, but if you consider that the alternative is to reload the map over and over and over again until you get the spawn that you want, I think moving the hunt around is totally acceptable. A second thing that I wish I knew when I started this game is that there are 2 resources that are rich in each area. Now, if there's an area that does not have a double rich deposit, it means that the ground itself is the rich deposit. So for example, if I were to construct a farming plot, you can see that this area is trash, but this area over here that only has the 1 rich deposit will have a very fertile land. You want to consider this for the type of town that you want to construct in each region. Another thing that I wish I knew when I first started is that you can have advanced options within your logging camp determining which area you're going to be logging from. So for example, if I only wanted to cut down these trees, I could cut down just these trees over in this area, not obstructing my overall view or however I wanted to do it. It's actually more useful than you would think. But that's not the only building that has very useful advanced options. If I go down to my storehouse and go to advanced options, I can pick which items are stored here, which may not seem very useful at first, but if, for example, I was making bread over in this area, then I wouldn't want my wheat to first be deposited into the storehouse and then be brought back to my windmill, which would make my change significantly less efficient, which is another bottleneck that can occur. You can see that we're all about making things run as smoothly as possible. Talking about bottlenecks, the amount of oxen you have is also very, very important because they do all of the heavy lifting. I think in the early game, you need about 1 ox for every 10 to 15 villageres. Otherwise, it's going to become a bottleneck for you, as lumber is required for a lot of different buildings as well as for construction. So make sure that you have plenty of hitching posts as well as purchase oxen. Now in the early game, the easiest way to get money is by beating up bandits. Come on with that cinematic view. Hans! Last time we had somebody named Hans fighting for us. I hope that's not one of our guys. Ain't that the truth, former Poop? Because those weapons are expensive. The villager's replaceable, the weapons are expensive, but it's not the end of the world. What is the end of the world is if the Baron gets there before you do. It's important that you outpace the Baron because you want the influence from defeating enemies in battle will allow you to capture additional regions, as well as giving you that money to start up your trade empire. Trade is really something that you want to exploit so that you can bring in resources that you may not have in your town. But I didn't know that you don't actually need to have trade routes to bring in common goods. It would just not happen as quickly. For example, I do not have a trade road for honey here, but I can still import them if I so chose. The first number is how many you have, and the second number is how many you want to have. You can also sell, yada yada yada. To make it work significantly more efficient, you're going to want to buy trade routes. The thing is that trade routes can get relatively expensive, but with the points that you gain over here, you can make your trade routes significantly more affordable and selling goods significantly more profitable. Side notes, most of the policies are broken, but if you have really good hunt, it is definitely worth picking up the wild animals on rich deposits breed 50% faster. Just thought I'd throw that out there as well. In terms of trading, you're going to want to trade things that you have plentiful of. In the beginning, you have plentiful planks, and you probably are able to get plentiful bows as well if you have level 2 houses. Houses is also how you get to the next step, which will then get you more points that you can put back into development. Remember that development points are independent per region that you have. That way you can specify one to be, for example, your trading hub, and another to be your farming hub or your hunting hub or whatever mining operation you want to set up. Keep that in mind. House upgrades, making bows, multiple regions. I don't understand. I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. It's fine. Let's take it one step at a time. So one way that you can get multiple regions is by means of spending influence from defeating bandits. Another way that I found out that you can get influence is by means of your manor. If you get taxes, you're going to get money from your population, but it's going to decrease their happiness. But if you spend a certain percentage of your food, that will convert into influence. So in other words, you're spending your food to get more influence. Thanks, church, for eating all my sandwiches. Okay, so now that we know about multiple regions and how to obtain them, we should probably know how to obtain higher levels of buildings. We can upgrade our building levels on the building itself. This is also how we unlock the fletching shop at tier 2, which will allow us to construct bows. The thing that is important to remember is that these villagers will be locked into this profession. They cannot do any of the other roles or tasks, which is extra important when you upgrade to level 3. Every level will have their own needs and requirements that need to be met. So don't rush to upgrade to a higher level if you're not ready for it. Some of the most useful extensions, in my opinion, are going to be the chicken coop, which produces eggs, which is basically passive food income, as well as the vegetable garden. What is important to consider when wanting to make a vegetable garden is the size of your add-on. So you can see that the add-on over here is relatively small, but we could increase that quite drastically. Actually, if you look over here, you can see some of the vegetable gardens that I have created, and they are getting tons and tons of carritos for me. That's the vegetable plot she told you not to worry about. One thing you most certainly should worry about is feeding all of your people, and it can get quite dicey if you're waiting for a large grain field to be harvested and turned into bread. Another option, instead of waiting for all of your crops to grow, is to simply buy food from the trading post. The more I think about it, the more viable of an option I think this is. There have been several runs where I was at about 70 population and all of my people just died. So make sure that everybody is well fed and well cared for. And with that, don't let your memes just be dreams. And keep on walking. Manor Lord, out.